Before we begin, pause for a moment. Comment below where in the world you're listening from and what time is it for you right now. We are travelers across time, across silence, across shadow. Welcome to Midnight Mind. Now step into the past. It begins with a patch of skin, nothing much, a dry flake, a white spot. Maybe you scraped your hand on a stone or burned it by the hearth. You think little of it, but days pass, then weeks, and the feeling in your fingers starts to change. You hold a spoon and it slips. You touch your child's cheek and you feel nothing. A numbness creeps into your body, quiet as a cat. Your neighbors notice the wound doesn't heal. Your mother mutters under her breath. The priest looks at you longer than he should during Mass. You rub ash into it. You pray. You fast. But the spot grows. Your skin begins to swell and crack. Red boils rise, then burst. And your face? God help you. Your face begins to change. One morning, you look in the wash basin and you see someone else. The nose is not as it was. The eyebrows have thinned. The mouth pulls crooked. When you speak, you press your hands to your cheeks and whisper a name, your own, just to remember who you were. But something is wrong, not just within your body, but with the silence that surrounds you. The silence of others. Doors that close more quickly. Chatter that stops when you enter a room. You are becoming unclean. In the year of our Lord, 1257, disease is not just a matter of flesh. It is a mark upon the soul. Leprosy, known then as lepra or malum mortuus, is feared like sin itself. You are summoned by the bishop, the lord, the magistrate, whoever holds power over this village. They bring you to the church. Inside, a strange scene awaits. Not a healer, not a doctor, but a priest. He wears his robes of black and red. A book lies upon the altar. Latin words trembling in candlelight. You kneel. The priest does not touch you. He speaks above you, not to you. He recites passages. The leper shall dwell alone. Without the camp shall his habitation be. You understand, there is no healing. This is your funeral. He examines your body from afar. He calls forward 2 leper judges, men who once had the disease themselves. They study your lesions, your face. They nod solemnly. It is done. You are declared mortuus vivens, a living dead. From this day forward, you are not a person. You are a leper. The village holds a ritual, a funeral mass, but it is not for someone who died. It is for you. You kneel beside your wife, your children, your mother. They are weeping. You are weeping. A small coffin is placed on the altar. It is empty, yet full of meaning. Inside it lies your name, your place, your past. You're handed a coarse robe, gray or brown, marked with a cross on the shoulder. You're given a wooden clapper or a small bell. This is not a tool. It is a warning. You must ring it when you walk. So others know to stay away. You're no longer allowed in the village. No touching others. No walking against the wind, lest it carry your breath to the clean. No stepping on the same path as children. You are outside now, outside the law, outside the town, outside God's favor, at least as they see it. The leper's last walk. You are escorted out of the village gates. Behind you, everything you knew. Before you, the unknown. A few villagers have gathered. They do not spit at you. They do not scream. They simply look, as if trying to memorize your face before it vanishes. Your youngest son holds a doll. He waves. Your wife doesn't. Her face is a stone. And then the gates shut. And for the first time in your life, the world is silent. As you walk, the bell swings from your hand. Clack, clack, clack. Its echo is the only proof you still exist. You're not contagious by touch alone, not in the way they think. But fear is louder than science. And no one wants to take a chance. You think of the stories you heard as a child. That leprosy is God's punishment. That it is the mark of Cain. That it's a sign you sinned in secret. Lust, pride, greed. You try to recall what you did wrong, but there is no answer. Only skin that won't feel, won't heal, and the sound of your own breath, like wind in a crypt. You are not dead, but you're not alive as they define it. You are something in between. The colony of ghosts entering the leper house. The road is long, but no one walks with you. Even the wind avoids your skin. Even the birds do not sing near your path. You travel alone, and every step you take takes you further from your name, from your memories, from the life you once lived. You've heard whispers of where you're going, a place beyond the trees, near the marshes, a colony, a leper house. They do not call it home. They call it Lazaretto, named after Lazarus, the man Jesus raised from the dead, because you too are dead and waiting for a resurrection. At the edge of the woods, the road splits into silence. No signpost marks this place, only a crooked fence and an old bell hanging from a dead tree. You pass through. The leper house is more like a ruined monastery. Stone walls crumbling, gardens untended, a chapel that smells of dust and blood. Its roof sags, its windows are shattered, but still there are people. Figures move like shadows in the distance. They wear hoods and veils, their faces hidden. They do not speak when you arrive, they watch. One steps forward, a woman perhaps. Her eyes are sharp, but her fingers are twisted like roots. She holds out a bowl of broth and bread. You take it. You nod. She nods. No words are exchanged. They have learned not to expect much from the living. Life in the colony is a dance with death, but it has its rhythm. The leper house is not governed by kings or lords. It has its own hierarchy, built from pain and survival. At the top are the elders, those who've lived longest with the disease. Not because they are strongest, but because they know how not to die. They set the rules. Never go near the chapel unless you are confessing. Don't eat from another's bowl. Always ring your bell near the road. Never fight over bandages, they are precious. And above all, never forget you're not cursed. You are chosen. That line confuses you at first. What could possibly be sacred about this? But in time, you understand. To live this life and still find meaning requires a strength few will ever know. Your bed is straw. Your blanket is a rough sheet that smells of mold. But it is shelter. You lie in the dormitory, 40 others in rows beside you, each groaning, scratching, coughing. One man mutters prayers in his sleep. Another whimpers like a child. You do not sleep. Not really. You listen to the slow collapse of breath, to the way the night wraps around the bones of the building, to the rats in the rafters. And somewhere faint but unmistakable, a sound like sobbing, coming from the chapel. You try to remember the Lord's Prayer, but the words dissolve into ash in your mouth. Each morning begins with a ritual. The eldest rings the chapel bell, not the warning bell, the real one. The one made of bronze and sorrow. You rise, aching, coughing, and shuffle to the common yard. The bread is passed around, black, crusted, hard as stone. But it is food. You thank God. Not because you feel grateful, but It's the only thing left to say. After breakfast, those still able are sent to work. Some tend to the herb garden, others clean bandages in boiling vinegar. The strong, if there are any, chop wood or bury the dead. You are sent to the chapel. It is strange, this church built for the dying. There is no priest here now, only a wooden cross with no figure upon it. He's gone too. But the stained glass still glows, and the candles still burn. You are given a rag and a pail. You clean the altar. It feels absurd, scrubbing something so holy while your own body rots. But somehow, it matters. The waxy feel of the stone beneath your fingers, the glint of sunlight through crimson glass. It reminds you that beauty still exists, even here, even now. Some days, strangers appear at the fence line. Villagers, travelers, merchants. They bring offerings, bread, cheese, dried meat, old clothes. But they do not enter. They leave the baskets and step away, waiting for the lepers to collect them. Sometimes they whisper prayers. Sometimes they hurl stones. Sometimes they weep. And sometimes they stand and stare, trying to recognize someone they once knew. A brother, a wife, a son. You have become part of a different world now, a mirror to their fear, a warning carved in flesh. They do not see you. They see what could become of them. Once a week, a bell tolls thrice. That means someone has passed. You help carry the body out, wrapped in a wool shroud, face uncovered, so that death can be recognized. There is no priest to read rites, so the others hum a tune, a low, droning chant passed down over decades. The grave is shallow, the cross is simple, but the name is spoken aloud. Because in here, names are all you have left. The stigma beyond skin, how the world sees you. You used to be a person, now you are a warning, a walking sermon, a symbol wrapped in scars. And in medieval Europe, symbols matter more than truth. In this world, the body is a mirror of the soul. If you are beautiful, healthy, strong, then surely God favors you. If your skin is cracked, if your nose collapses, if you limp when you walk, then surely you are marked. This belief is not casual. It is theology. They say leprosy is the punishment for hidden sins. It is the outward expression of inward rot. No trial, no confession. Your body is the evidence. Not all react with hate. Some react with pity. But even that is dangerous. You have become a symbol for Christian charity, a living test of mercy. You are both holy and horrifying. Knights of the Lazarus Order, Christian warriors who once fought in the Crusades, now care for lepers instead. Nuns bathe your wounds. Monks write prayers for your souls. But it's not about you, it's about them. Helping you redeems them. Loving the unlovable proves their faith. You are a tool, a sacred object of disgust. Even when they serve you, they never forget to recoil. Words change. They no longer say your name. They say the leprous, the cursed, the damned. Language tightens like a noose. What once described your illness now defines your existence. You are not a man with leprosy. You are a leper. One word, one identity, one future. In legal documents, you are stripped of property. In marriage, you are declared spiritually dead. In guilds, your name is removed from the ledger. Your spouse may remarry, even though you still breathe. Even if you could return, there is no place to return to. The law sees only your lesions, not your longing. Children are taught to fear you, not just for what you carry, but for what you represent. Flesh that disobeys the order of God. A warning to behave, to pray, to confess. In church plays and mystery cycles, you are a character. A grotesque. A sinner who steals bread and is punished with rot. A woman who lies with men and awakens to find her fingers crumbling. The audience laughs, then cringes, then crosses themselves. You are entertainment and terror. Even your smell is made into metaphor. The stench of the leper is the stench of hell, sin made flesh. And you, trapped in that flesh, carry it like a second skin. You never imagined that a piece of wood and metal could feel so heavy. But the bell you wear now, it swings from your neck like a shackle. In some towns, it's the law. You must ring it if someone comes near. You must stay 6 feet away. You must not enter the marketplace. You must not touch the well. In others, the customs are harder and harsher. You must wear a veil. You must dig your own grave in advance. You must kneel if a priest walks by. And in some places, they kill you outright. Burned in your sleep. Drowned in a ditch. Buried alive with no ceremony. Because fear does not need permission, only an excuse. Leprosy in the 14th century is not just a disease. It becomes a political tool. During times of plague, kings blame lepers for poisoning wells. When crops fail, villagers whisper that lepers cursed the soil. Some say you plot with Jews. Others say you make deals with the devil. You hear of a leper burned alive in Carcassonne, another dragged by horse in Mainz, a leper woman stoned by children in Pisa. The leper colonies that once offered fragile sanctuary now become prisons. Their gates are locked from the outside, their food cut off, their chapel razed. Even in your exile, you're not safe from fear. You wonder what they see when they look at you now. Do they see your eyes, still clear, still searching? Do they see your lips moving in prayer? Do they see your hands still capable of kindness? Or do they see a monster, a warning, a sin that walks? You pass through a town once every few months to collect alms during Lent. You kneel in the dirt near the church steps, face hidden, hands unstretched. Sometimes they drop coins, sometimes they spit, sometimes they cry, but they never ask your name. And yet, you are still here. You think, you pray, you remember your mother's voice. You dream of a garden you once tended. You sing hymns to yourself at night. They say you're damned, but you've never felt more human. The suffering has peeled away all falsehood. What remains is raw, but real. You look in the broken mirror above your basin, and though your face has changed, the eyes remain. You are still in here, waiting. Healing the unhealable, the strange medicines of the time. There are no real cures, only hopes dressed as herbs, prayers disguised as potions, and pain, always pain. But still you try, because even in this broken skin, there is something that refuses to surrender, something that wants to be whole. Once a month, the apothecary visits the leper house. He does not enter. He leaves bundles at the gate, wrapped in waxed cloth, sealed with string. You gather around like children at a feast. Inside are powders, balms, dried leaves, mustard seed, wormwood, sage. Sometimes dried snake skin crushed and wrapped in linen. Each herb has a purpose, they say. One purifies the blood, another draws out the poison, another soothes the fire under your skin. But mostly they burn. You spread them on lesions that no longer feel pain until they do. And that pain, strange as it sounds, feels like hope. The cleansing fire. Some believe fire is holy, that heat burns away sin as it burns away skin. So you are brought to the cleansing pit. An iron rod is heated until it glows. 2 elders hold your arms. You do not struggle. The rod touches the wound on your thigh. It hisses. Your body convulses. The smell is unbearable. Charred flesh, boiling pus, hair turned to smoke. You pass out. When you wake, the elder says, "The rot is lessened, the sin is punished." But you're not sure what's changed. Only that now it's harder to walk. Love in the leper house, bonds that defy disease. Love does not obey rules, not even the rules of disease, especially not those. In the leper house, where death is a neighbor and silence a second skin, love becomes something different, quieter, slower, braver. You did not expect to feel it here, but it finds you anyway. You first notice her by the well, veil pulled over her head, shoulders hunched. But her eyes, still clear, still burning, meet yours. You turn away. You've forgotten how to be looked at, how to be seen without flinching. But she doesn't turn away. And the next day, she's there again. You pass a bowl. She takes it. Your fingers brush. A spark, even in the numbness. She says nothing. She doesn't need to. You already know. There is no court trip here. No flowers. No stolen kisses under moonlight. Love grows in glances, in shared blankets. In the quiet way she helps wrap your hand when you can't do it yourself. You whisper stories to her at night, of your childhood, of dreams that once had edges. She listens, and then she tells you her name. Not the one the church recorded. Not the one she was buried under. Her real name. You say it like a prayer. And for the first time in months, you laugh together. It hurts, but it's worth it. Touch is sacred now. Each moment of contact must be earned, must be safe. You bathe together once, not in lust, but in tenderness. She washes your back, careful around the lesions. You comb her hair with fingers that barely bend. It's not about desire. It's about witness. To be touched by someone who sees you. To hold another and not be feared. To know that even this ruined body is still worthy of closeness. The leper house forbids pairing. Not officially, but it's frowned upon. Love leads to heartbreak. Heartbreak leads to despair. And despair, they say, hastens death. So you keep it a secret. You meet her in the garden after dusk, beneath the crumbling statue of Saint Mary. Sometimes you sit in silence, her head on your shoulder, your hands tangled like roots. The world is quiet here, and the night feels almost gentle. Almost. One day, the whispers begin. Another couple, lepers like you, have conceived. There is panic, anger, debate. Can a child survive this place? Will it be born clean? It is a blessing or a curse. The elders send word to the monastery for guidance, but by the time the reply arrives, the baby is already born, small, wrinkled, crying, and clean. You hold him once, his fingers curl around yours, and for a moment you believe in miracles. They send him to a foundling home far away. He will never know your names, but he will live. Every day you love her is an act of defiance. Against the rules, against despair, against the voice that says, you are not worthy. You plant a garden together, garlic, marigold, mint. It is the smallest kingdom, but it is yours. Sometimes you pretend you're in a different life, that you're bakers, or travelers, or poets, that your hands are clean, your face is whole, your name's intact. You both know it isn't real, but for a few moments, few minutes each day, you believe it anyway. And somehow that's enough. When the fever comes, she falls ill in spring, not with leprosy, but something faster. A cough that deepens, a fever that won't break. You stay beside her. You mop her brow. You sing the hymn she taught you. You whisper her name over and over, as if keeping it alive will keep her alive too. But she fades. On the seventh night, she opens her eyes and says, "Promise me you'll remember the garden." You do. You say it 3 times, and then she is gone. They bury her beneath the lemon tree behind the chapel. You dig the grave yourself. Your back aches. Your hands bleed, but you don't stop. She wore no veil in the end, only a crown of marigolds. You placed them there yourself. No priest attends, but everyone comes. Even the silent ones, even the angry ones. Because she was one of them, one of you. The bell rings once, then again, then silence. Weeks pass. The garden begins to bloom. The mint spreads wild, fragrant. The marigolds lean toward the sun. You tend it still, kneeling beside the roots, your fingers in the earth. You feel her there, in the warmth of the soil, in the hum of bees, in the soft push of a petal against your palm. You lost her, but not the love, because love, even here, is never wasted. It lingers, it grows. It teaches you that even a ruined body can hold a whole heart. Not everyone stays in the leper house until death. Now and then, rarely, almost mythically, someone begins to heal. The lesions close. The cough fades. The feeling returns to their fingers. Not entirely, not perfectly, but enough to wonder, could you go back? And the real question, would they let you? The strange remission. Your wounds no longer ooze. Your face, though scarred, holds its shape. You can hold a spoon without dropping it. You no longer feel the deep crawling ache beneath your skin. The others begin to look at you differently. Some with hope, some with jealousy, some with fear. You speak to the elder. She nods, says, "It happens once every few years, but what heals the body does not always heal the name. Because even if the disease leaves you, its shadow never does." You're sent to the nearest abbey. There, a priest waits with books, scrolls, and a look of caution. He examines your body, pokes, prods, prays. He questions you. When did the symptoms stop? What herbs did you use? Have you touched anyone clean? Then the theological interrogation begins. Have you confessed your sins? Have you made amends? Do you believe your healing is from God, not demons? You say yes to everything because you must. Because doubt is dangerous. Because healing in this world can look like hearsay. If the church declares you free of leprosy, you are granted a ceremony. It resembles a baptism, but darker. You are shaved, scrubbed with ash and vinegar, wrapped in white linen, then walked through the village gates in silence. A priest declares, "This man was lost, but he has been found. He was cursed, but now he's clean." Some villagers applaud, others avert their eyes. Because you remember your face may be healed, but your past is not. You return to your childhood village. The streets are narrower than you remember. The smells sharper. The sky is smaller. You walk past the bakery, the square, the old well. You stop before your house. You knock. A woman answers, your sister. She stares. She does not scream, but she does not smile either. "Is it really you?" she whispers. You nod. "We heard you died." You nod again. She lets you in, but something in the room stays cold. Even if you're clean, the law is slow to follow. Your land was claimed by the church, your belongings redistributed, your guild membership revoked. You petition, you wait, you plead. Some things are returned, most are not. They say you left, you died, you do not exist. You offer letters from monks, endorsements from abbots. Still, the magistrate looks at your hands and sees not proof, but threat. You try to live. You bake bread. You tend a garden. You sit outside the chapel on Sundays. But you're always watched, always slightly apart. No one invites you to feast days. No one asks your help with harvest. No one sits beside you at the tavern. You see your reflection in the well and you wonder, did the body really heal, or did you just learn to carry its ghost? Months pass, and then one day you hear the bell. A traveler passing through speaks of the leper house, that a new child was born there, that the marigold garden still blooms, that someone sings your name when they pray, and something inside you stirs. You thought you wanted to escape, but now you realize the only place you ever felt whole was among the broken. You pack a sack, leave a note, and walk away from the village, your shadow growing long on the road. When you arrive, they embrace you, not as a leper, not as a ghost, but as one of them. You plant new seeds in the garden. You sing new hymns in the chapel. You speak new names at the graves. You're not cured, but you are whole. You are not normal, but you are loved. And sometimes that is the greatest healing of all. In 1347, a different shadow sweeps across Europe, the Black Death. It moves like wildfire, not years, but weeks, not scars, but sudden death. People begin to fear fleas more than faces. And in this chaos, something strange happens. The lepers are forgotten. Not forgiven, not healed, just ignored. No one has time to hate you when they are afraid of themselves. Superstition finds new targets. Jews, foreigners, witches. Leprosy, once the great sin made flesh, becomes an old fear, a lesser fear. The rise of doubt. By the late 1300s, healers begin to question old beliefs. A few whisper, leprosy is not divine punishment, but a disease. Some even dare to say it isn't always contagious, that it may come from within. Bad blood, bad air, bad fortune. The church resists. But the cracks are showing. In distant universities, men in robes begin to write strange things. That not all who looked cursed are. That touch may not always bring death. That the soul is not always stained by the body. It will take centuries, but the age of blind fear is dying. In the fading years of Lazarus' order, one old knight continues to serve. He no longer carries a sword, only a ladle, a Bible, and a broken smile. He walks the perimeter of the leper house at dawn, blessing the walls, whispering names of the dead, tending the garden. He says, "We are the kingdom we forgot, but God remembers." You help him build a shrine near the tree line, a place of prayer, yes, but also of memory, because memory is the last thing they cannot take from you. By the 1500s, leper houses are closing. Some are burned, some are sealed and left to rot. Some are converted to hospitals or prisons. Many die nameless in ditches. Many are absorbed into cities as beggars. A few disappear into forests, living as hermits. And the world forgets. Leprosy doesn't disappear, but its stage is taken away. By the 1600s, it becomes a footnote, a word in a book, a tale told to scare children into obedience. You are no longer feared, but no longer seen either, erased. And yet, some stories survive. A healer in 1800 opens an old scroll and finds a recipe for balm. A writer in 1900 pens a poem about the woman in grey. A child in 2000 lights a candle in a ruined garden and wonders who planted the mint. You're not entirely gone, just waiting. Today, medicine calls it Hansen's disease, curable, treatable, no longer feared the way it was once. But the scars of the past remain, in language, in art, and myth. People still say leper to mean outcast, still picture the face wrapped in cloth, still flinch at the sound of the bell, even if they don't know why. The body is healed, but the memory still limps. Leprosy was never just about disease. It was about meaning, about how a society looks at suffering and what it does with the people who carry it. It asked hard questions. What is purity? What is sin? What makes a person unclean? And when the skin betrays you, what happens to the soul? Your body is your first identity, your first mask, your first home. They see the illness, they see the fear. Your story is overwritten by your skin. But you know something they don't, that a ruined body can still hold music, that even a cracked voice can carry prayer. You were not your disease, you were something underneath it, something that survived it. Medieval Europe needed villains. It needed the other, the outsider, the mirror of guilt. You became that mirror. They looked at your face and saw the face of punishment, of lust, of pride, of secrets whispered in dark corners. But the truth was simpler. You were unlucky, a twist of fate, a stranger to fortune, and yet you carried their shame for them. You wore it, walked with it, were buried with it, so they didn't have to. The mirror of the present. We like to think we are different now. We have medicine, science, sterile gloves, and antiseptic. We don't exile the sick, not with bells, not with robes, not with stones. But do we exile them with silence? With neglect? With shame? Do we still recoil from what makes us uncomfortable? Still blame the poor for their poverty, the ill for their weakness? We no longer say leper, but we still say burden, broken, less than. The language evolves, the cruelty survives. The final question: what does it mean to be human? When the world treats you as less than human, you answered it not with words, but with your life, with your resilience, with your tenderness, with your willingness to plant flowers beside graves, to sing when no one listened, to love in a body the world called cursed. You were never the disease. You were never the shame. You were always the soul that endured. Epilogue: the bell that still echoes. Somewhere in a forgotten corner of Europe, a rusted bell hangs from a tree. The tree is older than the road beside it, its branches thick with moss, its trunk split with time. No one knows who placed the bell there. No one remembers when it last rang. But if the wind is strong, if dusk settles just right, you can hear it. A faint chime, low, hollow, distant, like memory itself. This bell was once your voice. It spoke for you when the world would not listen. It warned others of your approach. It whispered of danger, but also of presence. It said, "I am here. I still exist." It was the sound of your survival, your sorrow, your stubborn heartbeat in a world that tried to forget you. Now it is the sound of remembering. History remembers emperors and architects, wars and wonders. But what of you? You who had no army, no wealth, no crown, only a body that ached, a heart that loved, a soul that endured. You were not a headline. You were not a miracle. You were something quieter, something more human. And perhaps that's why we must remember you. Because you show us what we are when everything else is stripped away. In the ruins of an old leper house, beneath broken stone and tangled roots, a single marigold blooms. No one planted it recently. No one waters it, and yet it grows. The soil remembers, the seed remembers, the light remembers. Love leaves traces. Kindness does not vanish, and stories, if whispered often enough, become prayers. This garden is your legacy, not carved in marble, but in the turning of petals toward the sun. If you are listening to this now, if you made it to the end, you too are part of this remembrance. You carry the story forward. You honor the unseen. You ring the bell in your own quiet way. Maybe not for lepers, but for anyone cast aside, anyone forgotten, anyone struggling to feel human in a world that measures by appearance, productivity, perfection. The bell still echoes, not through stone, through you. So close your eyes, breathe deep. Picture the garden, the chapel, the faces and shadow, the hands that reached despite the risk, the eyes that saw despite the scars. And now, ring the bell one last time. Not in fear, not in shame, but in tribute. For all who lived unseen, for all who died unheard, for all who endured anyway.